people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
The undisputed super featherweight champion of the world, Alicia, the Bumgarner.
That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Earlier today, it was officially announced that Murtazaliev will defend his IBF junior middleweight title against Tim Tszyu on October 19th at the Caribe Royale in Orlando, Florida. It's the first non-pay-per-view show from PBC on Prime Video since announcing their partnership 10 months ago.
10 months.
That's saying that if you've been a fan of the PBC dating back to all their years with Showtime, what became their years with Fox, and you've been waiting for an offering
that didn't cost you an arm and a leg, that didn't come with an additional charge attached,
then you've been waiting a while, since all the PBC have done all this year have been box office fights.
this will be the first that didn't cost extra.
Pay-per-views are not the backbone for boxing. Pay-per-views are not the backbone for a promotional outfit. No, the backbone of a promotional outfit is the regular schedule and the regular shows. That's where fighters are built, developed.
Stars are born.
So when a promotional outfit takes this long to offer up a non-pay-per-view show,
That ain't good.
the competition has a regular schedule of fights. Golden Boy, Top Rank, Matchroom, they have a regular schedule. Not everything they've done this year has been behind a paywall.
Everything the PBC has done has been behind a paywall.
A far cry from the comprehensive schedule of fights they used to give you by way of Fox, by way of Showtime. It just is what it is.
This is a good fight.
And this is what I wanted for Tim Tszyu. I felt that if Bakram Murtazaliev is not otherwise preoccupied, why don't they just make a fight with them? The IBF went ahead and ordered it, so here we are. I'm a fan of Tim Tszyu. I have been for years before he actually started doing business with the PBC. But I wonder how many of the Haymanites, those hardcore PBC fans that have been PBC fans for a long time, I wonder how excited they are. Are they big Tim Tszyu fans?
Does this satisfy your appetite?
You guys don't seem to like anybody else. Top Rank shows, Matchroom shows. I know you don't like Golden Boy.
This fight's going down in Florida.
I think Tim Tszyu has some kind of personal goal to make it in America, because an Australian versus a Russian in Florida.
It's not exactly a hot ticket.
So now he's fighting at the Caribe Royale in Orlando, Florida. Before that, he fought at the Armory in Minneapolis, when both of those fights could have happened in his native Australia, where he's already a big draw and where he's already a box office star. So why do those fights here?
I think it's because for some reason he wants to make it in America.
But wouldn't the fight have drawn more, sold more tickets in Australia than it would in Florida?
I think so, but perhaps they're making up the difference with whatever this casino is giving them. The Caribe Royale, that resort, that's a casino.
In tandem with the fight being broadcasted in Australia as a pay-per-view, well, that's 2 arms of revenue. You get whatever the pay-per-view brings in your native Australia and whatever the casino might be giving you in America. Now, I don't know that the casino's giving them anything, but I'm assuming that they are. Otherwise, why would they do it there?
You can draw more people to it in your own neck of the woods.
There's got to be a reason you keep coming here, doing fights here when you draw better there. You got to make up the difference somehow. I think Tim Tszyu wins the fight, and afterwards, I don't anticipate that he's gonna pursue a Terrence Crawford fight, unify titles with Terrence Crawford. No, I think what he's gonna pursue is a Sebastian Fundora fight.
A rematch.
And if he wins that rematch at some point next year, when it would presumably go down, if Terrence Crawford is still around and he's still WBA champion and Turkey is still behind him, offering loads of money for someone to fight him, if that situation is still the same, then maybe Tim Tszyu will fight him. But I get the sense that he's going to try to settle up with Sebastian first. This will be the first non-pay-per-view show the PBC does this year. They're reported to be doing another one later on in the year in December, and we'll see if they do that. It's supposed to be headlined headlined by David Morrell.
I thought that's when David Benavidez was supposed to be coming back.
Coming back where? On David Morrell's undercard?
We'll see.
So not billing Tszyu's next fight as a pay-per-view is the smart thing to do, because as much as I like that guy, he might be box office in Australia, but he's not box office in America. Even if this is a solid fight, a title fight, not every title fight belongs on pay-per-view.
But in the greater scheme of things, it's a paltry offering.
This is not a substitute for a comprehensive schedule of regular fights like what you get with everyone else. And who's supposed to box on this undercard?
We'll see.
This is a regular fight, not a box office fight, so I don't expect the matchmaking to be all that ambitious. They're just going to get a couple of guys out there that need a date.
Couple of guys that have probably been on the shelf for a while.
Don't think it's going to be Jermall Charlo on that undercard, since he just got charged with a DWI for crashing that Lamborghini back in May, so he's out.
David Morrell is out. He's supposed to be headlining his own show in December.
And David Benavidez?
He's basic.
But I don't think David Benavidez is going to be boxing on Tszyu's undercard. I don't think they would structure it that way. If he were going to box on somebody's undercard, I would assume it would be Gervonta's undercard, like the last time.
The next time, if he does box again this year, there's a chance that he doesn't.
But no surprises. This is the news that we were all hip to, the news that we were expecting, and so here it is. Over to the show that David Morrell is supposed to be headlining on December 21st, another non-pay-per-view card, this one in Minnesota at the Armory. David Morrell is ready for a quick return following a rugged decision win last month against Radovanje Hot Rod Kalajdzic. Morrell handler Luis Tacuba Sr. told Boxing Scene that the light heavyweight will likely return on December 21st against a yet-to-be-determined opponent. Tacuba Sr. said the fight could likely headline a PBC on Prime Video non-pay-per-view event at the Armory in Minneapolis. The 26-year-old Southpaw Morrell, 11-0 with 9 KOs, has fought 6 times at the Armory in Minnesota, the adopted hometown of the Cuban contendor.
I had hoped that David Morrell would return on the next Riyadh season show because, Turkey plans on doing shows later on this year, not just the one in October.
There is the Usyk versus Fury rematch set to go down after that, and I wouldn't have minded it at all if they brought David Morrell back, because I think the guy's good. I think he's got something there.
When you think about the light heavyweight division and the somebodies in the light heavyweight division, you're talking about international fighters, several of them Brits. You're talking about Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yard, Joshua Buatsi,
Callum Smith.
The money there is to make for a light heavyweight is on the global stage.
We're looking at different guys in the top 10 for the December 21st date, Tacuba Sr. told Boxing Scene. Morrell draws a great crowd and sells out the Armory, bringing a great atmosphere of nearly 7,000 fans. People love him there. That's where I would like for the fight to take place, and hopefully something big will happen after that. We're not going to let him sit.
That's good.
But when Tacuba Sr. says that that's where he would like for the fight to take place, it gives me the impression that that's not final.
That the location of the show and the opponent David would be facing has yet to be finalized.
It's still in the air, and you wonder if this show is even going to happen. Morrell has fought only once so far this year, looking uneven at times against Kalajdzic during his 175-pound debut. For the first time in his 5-year career, the knockout artist Morrell lost multiple rounds. It wasn't the vicious new version he promised, but he still outlanded Kalajdzic. Morrell's fight against Kalajdzic took place deep down on the undercard of Riyadh Season's debut show in the United States this past August. Tacuba Sr. said the regularly headlining Morrell had to get accustomed to the new elements of fighting outdoors under the scorching Los Angeles summer heat at 4 p.m. Heading into the fight, Morrell was riding a 7-fight stoppage streak, and 8 of his 9 career KOs had come inside of 4 rounds. You can't knock everybody out. Kalajdzic is a top 175-pounder, said Tacubas.
I agree with that.
Remember that when you're talking about David Morrell, you're talking about a guy who ain't even got 20 fights. He ain't even got 15 fights. He's only got 11.
Most professional boxers are not fighting a fighter like Radovanje Kalajdzic in just their 11th fight.
At a new weight to boot. Remember, David Morrell has been at 168. That was his first fight at 175. to kick off that campaign. After facing a game contender later this winter, the plan is for Morrell to make the leap against the division's creme de la creme. Hopefully we will fight David Benavidez, said Kuba Sr. We want the fights as well as with Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev after they fight as well on October 12th. We're ready to fight anyone. We have never turned down a fight.
Here's what I think.
There's been a lot of talk about David Benavidez facing the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol. You guys know I don't think he's going to do that, and I don't think that's going to happen. Al Heyman doesn't have the bodies to spare to where he would sacrifice a guy he's been invested in for a while now. He's going to sacrifice him to one of Turkey's shows, even if it is a shot at Undisputed.
I don't think he's going to do it.
I think David will fight either Canelo Alvarez or David Morrell.
You still think the Alvarez fight happens?
I don't think. I know that Canelo is still in bed with Al Heyman and the PBC. That's why Amazon Prime is distributing that pay-per-view.
And so long as he's still working with Al, I feel there's a chance that fight happens. Now, if it doesn't
happen. Canelo fucks off, fights somebody else, dyes his hair green, joins the Democratic Party,
gets AOC pregnant.
I think in the event that David Benavidez doesn't fight him, he may then face David Morrell.
What?
I know that it's risky, that David Benavidez versus David Morrell is a risky fight for David Benavidez, but not as risky as facing the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol. Whoever wins their fight, whatever champion emerges, is a more experienced, more decorated, more dangerous fight for David Benavidez than David Morrell.
But isn't that going to be for less money?
Would that be the first time a PBC fighter turned down more money for less money to play it safe? Remember, Rolly Romero was offered a main event slot with Ryan Garcia. He turned it down to fight Isaac on an undercard.
Remember?
You say that he stands to make more money. There's more in it for him in fighting the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol than fighting David Morrell, but there was more in it for Rolly in fighting Ryan than fighting Isaac in the end.
He fought Isaac.
However counterintuitive it seemed at the time, that's what he did. They say that Al Heyman is back from a long hiatus. And because he is, I don't think he's going to offer up his unbeaten guys to be participants in Turkey's shows. Before he does that,
Before he lets one of them lose on somebody else's show, he'll have them lose on his own show.
yes, the David Morrell fight is risky for David Benavidez, but not as risky as facing the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol.
They'll probably build that as a pay-per-view at some point next year, if it comes to that.
To make it happen and try and satisfy the fighters' financial demands, if it comes to it, they'll do it.
They build Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin as a pay-per-view. If they build that as a pay-per-view, they would build this as a pay-per-view.
They ain't got no quality control over there. They're just scratching and sniffing. Now over to the middleweight division, where Top Rank just lost the purse bid for the Janibek Alimkhanalai versus Andre Mikhaliovich fight. They got beat out by No Limit Promotions, an Australian-based outfit that we often talk about here on the channel, but isn't all that well known in this hemisphere, in this part of the world, at least not as well known as Top Rank, that's got 4 or 5 decades in the sport.
You don't expect Top Rank to lose a purse bid to No Limit.
Kinda like you don't expect Matchroom to lose a purse bid to P2P Promotions. Who are they?
How does it happen? In my previous video, we talked about what level of collusion it might take for No Limit Promotions to beat Top Rank by such a nominal amount of money. Here,
We'll get into what else this means. Janibek Alimkhanalai reacted to the news by saying, "I have no words. What is this, Top Rank Boxing? Bob Arum, Carl Moretti." It sounds like Janibek is none too pleased that he will have to travel to the Southern Hemisphere as a traveling champion, a defending champion, to Andre's neck of the woods. Not what you would expect for a champion, but
Top Rank didn't put up that much money.
they didn't.
Under $500,000 for an unbeaten unified middleweight champion. They didn't put up that much. Perhaps their bid would have been harder to match, even with collusion, had they spent a little more.
That's saying that even if somebody at the IBF tipped off No Limit Promotions as to what Top Rank was going to bid, if Top Rank were putting up, say, $1 million or $2 million, that might have been harder for No Limit to match, but $350,000, that's not a lot.
And I don't expect Top Rank to put up a lot of money for this fight. It's not a hot ticket. Neither Janibek Alimkhanalai or Andre Mikhaliovich are well known in the American market. Is that a lack of commitment?
A lack of commitment to this fight, this particular fight perhaps, but not a lack of commitment to finance. Top Rank is going to do what's right for business, whether the fighter likes it or not. So where Janibek might feel slighted that he now has to travel and fight under somebody else's banner.
What's bad news for him is not bad news for them, because now they don't have to pay for this show, they don't have to risk anything, and they still get their cut, which puts them in the plus.
You figure that because No Limit Promotions now has the rights to the fight, they're going to bill it as a show down there in Australia. Top Rank might have to give them something for the fight, something for the rights to the fight here in America, but it would be less than putting on the show themselves.
That buying the US rights for the fight from No Limit is less expensive than doing the show yourself. And they were going to do the show, but Janibek fell ill. Janibek fainted.
The story was that he collapsed before or after the weigh-in. Apparently he had a hard cut. This guy's his mandatory challenger. Calling in sick did not absolve him of the responsibility to satisfy him. And where originally he was going to do it here under the Top Rank banner, now he has to do it over there under the No Limit banner. And that might be bad news for him, but not bad news for Top Rank, because now
they're off the hook. They don't have to pay for this.
They'll get their percentage of Janibek Alimkhanalai's purse, but they don't have to risk anything. They signed this fighter likely in the hopes that they can do for Janibek what Tom Loeffler did for Gennady Golovkin in the days of HBO. Kazakhstan's most recognizable fighter, Gennady Golovkin, the people at Top Rank likely hope to duplicate that success with Janibek. But Janibek is no Golovkin.
He's not a draw like Golovkin is a draw.
Because after some years of struggling to get high-profile opponents, Gennady Golovkin became a draw unto himself, and Janibek just not there.
That's why Top Rank didn't put up much money for his fight to begin with.
And left the door open for this to happen, if there is collusion. The No Limit people must like Andre's chances. They must. But why?
Where before you shipped him out to America, now you're bringing Janibek to you. Is it because he collapsed when you guys were supposed to fight? Are you guys telling yourselves, this guy's struggling to make the weight. If we bring him here, we stand a better chance of beating him?
You could have let Top Rank pay for this. You didn't have to risk your own money. If you chose to, it's got to be because you want to give your guy every possible advantage.
Andre's from New Zealand, where No Limit is based in Australia, though all the same, Australia's more his neck of the woods than America is, wouldn't you say?
It's closer.
Fighting in Australia, that brings you closer to Andre's neck of the woods than fighting in America.
I figure that No Limit Promotions, who's based out of Australia, is going to do this fight in Australia.
They must have saw the Denzel Bentley fight, saw that Janibek looked less than spectacular, in tandem with him collapsing at the weigh-in for what was supposed to be this fight. They're telling themselves, we're going to bring him here because we stand a better chance here than there.
To some extent, they must like Andre's chances, because if they didn't, they wouldn't waste their own money trying to outbid Top Rank.
Does Top Rank not like Janibek's chances against Andre?
Not exactly the same thing in reverse. It's not about liking his chances, it's about not breaking the bank for what is not a big fight.
So now we'll see if Janibek can stay in character abroad.